The time is 7 o'clock, Monday, June 13th, 2011. I call this meeting to order, and we have established a quorum. Item number 2, Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. and Texas flag, and invocation.
Good evening. I would like to introduce those students who came down and they're going to say the Pledge of Allegiance. They've been given the opportunity to have an active role in our board meeting. These students are from Ed Down Elementary, accompanied by their principal, Teresa Cervellon. Did I say that right? Okay. First, I would start off with Jessica Barbosa. She's the daughter of Juanita and Jesus Barbosa. Jessica is a young lady who has enjoyed being in local Girl Scouts. She was instrumental in the community food drive and the trash bash at the beach. Jessica has been in the Girl Scouts since her pre-kinder years. She is currently bridging to the cadet level. Jessica enjoys her DS in collecting Build-A-Bears. Jessica's favorite subject in school is science. When Jessica finishes her school years, including college, she hopes to become a teacher and someday run her own daycare. Can her parents please stand and be recognized? You girls want to come forward? Don't be scared. Can you all please stand for the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state, under God, one, indivisible.
Please bow your heads. Lord, thank you for allowing all of us to gather here tonight. Bless our families, friends, neighbors, and the entire community of San Benito. Watch over and guide our school board members, administrators, and all school staff to make the best decisions for the students of our school district. Help the students in the district to always aspire to be the best they can be so that they can become the successful future leaders of our great community. In our blessed name, we pray, amen.
Thank you to the girls from Ed Downs and Ms. Cervellon as well. And thank you to the parents for allowing them to come to the board meeting as well. At this time, we're going to go ahead and move on to item number 4, roll call. Please respond with present to acknowledge that you are present at the meeting. Mr. Hector G. Leal, Vice President. Ms. June Aguilera, Secretary.
Present.
Mr. Oscar de la Fuente, Jr. Here. Mr. Julian Huerta, Trustee. Mr. Oscar Medrano.
Present, Madam Chair.
Mr. Bob Tumberlinson.
Present.
Mr. Antonio G. Limon, Superintendent.
Present.
Mr. Gasa Acevedo, School Attorney.
Present.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 5, public comment. In order to appear on the open forum, the persons must register at the San Benito CISD Administration Building no later than 5 minutes before the announced time of the meeting. State their full name, state whether they represent a particular group or organization, and the topic they wish to address before the board. Each speaker will be limited to a 5-minute presentation, and any matter addressed before the Board of Trustees during open forum will not be replied to by the trustees at this same meeting, since board members may not legally discuss such items when they have not been announced on the agenda. Persons presenting a question or request in the open forum may anticipate a response at a subsequent board meeting or by the superintendent acting on behalf of the Board of Trustees during the interim. School Board Policy BED Local. If a complaint involves concerns or charges regarding an employee, it shall be heard by the board in closed meeting unless the employee to whom the complaint pertains requests that it be heard in public. School Board Policy GF Local. We do have 2 public comments. First is by Mr. Jesus Aguilera.
Well, as you can see, I brought my watch anyway, just in case. Really, what I have is this letter here, and I will make you some copies for later. But really, what it is, idea schools are not being allowed to participate in varsity games or volleyball or cheerleading or whatever. I got this letter here that was brought to me that they can come and play here at the San Benito School District. And right now they're not being allowed to come play. And this letter here says they're eligible. They're still our kids. They're still from San Benito. I just don't see why we don't let them participate. So it's something that you might want to look into, so we can get them, because they're still our kids, they're still from San Benito, okay? And so that was important. I had another letter, but I haven't had time to take care of that, so I won't get into it. My other comment, and it's long overdue, so I'm going to say it, and I should have said it a long time ago, but I'm going to say it now. When I got back from Afghanistan in 2006, I went to Sullivan Elementary, and I talked to the security guards. And I asked them, how much are you getting paid? And they said, Chewy, we get paid $5.35 an hour, and we put in 30 hours. So I kind of make the math. You're talking about $170. Take-home pay is $150. Gas was $3.95 at the time. Okay? And so by the time they filled up their Explorer, you're looking at about $100, okay, for that week. The point is here is that I went to a board member and asked him. I said, OJ, do you know what these people are getting paid? He said, no. I said, they're getting paid $5.35 an hour. Can you help them? And he came to the board, the old board. Okay? And he brought that request and said that all of you did help him. You helped him get him 2 raises, not just 1, 2 raises. Okay? And I bring it up because, you know, he was by himself at that time. And you know the feeling, you know, but it still took a board to get it done, you know, and he got it done. And of course, he lost the election the next time around, you know. And then I met another board member 6 months ago, and he told me, yeah, I was the one with the idea. I said, no, sorry, you weren't the one. Just want to bring that OJ because he was a good person that ran here, and it took all of you guys to get it done to take care of our people here, because gas was at $3.95. Okay, and I'm just saying that this is why all of you need to start working together, so we can take care of our people, so we can take care of our teachers. That's the most important, take care of our teachers. And our children need to be taken care of. So that's what I just wanted to share with you, what he did many years ago that helped a lot of families. And it was partially you guys and himself. And so now we need to move forward, work together, so we can make San Benito #1 next year. Okay, my time's up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have one more public comment by Ms. Cecilia Rangel.
Good evening, members of the board. It's a pleasure to be before you tonight. I'm going to leave on a positive note, and I just want to say thank you to this district, Mr. Limon, Celeste Sanchez, and the entire board. I'm not going to have a chance to work with the new board members, but I'm sure you all are going to do, and you have children in your hearts, and you're going to do the best that you can for the staff in San Benito and for the students. And to you, Mr. Medrano, Mr. Tamberlinson, and Mr. De La Fuente, thank you so much for being so supportive. But I leave on this note, because this is the way I would like to leave my retirement, and I'm sure many people would. I got this letter from one of our students, one of our special ed students at the high school last year who graduated. And I want to read this to you, because this is the crux of why we're here. Dear Mrs. Rangel, thank you for being so sweet and nice to me. Also, I appreciate what you've told me because those words changed me in many ways. Today, I now believe that there are true people who help others. Like you helped. You helped also to make me believe that things could happen. You gave me the faith that someday I would be someone in life. Thank you so much, because now I believe that life is hard, but someday I will have the chance of being with my family. God bless you in every way. I hope you like this little angel I have given you from the bottom of my heart. Whenever you see this angel, always remember, I will keep you in my prayers. Love, Maria. And this is what makes us do what we do today as educators. And I wanted to share this with you because it was so important to me. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll go ahead and move on to item number 6, joint meeting of the San Benito CISD and the San Benito CISD Public Facilities Corporation. We do have some agenda items.
Yes, Madam Chair, at this time, we would like to ask Mr. Chuy Ramirez, counsel that helped us put together the Public Facilities Corporation, to come forward and guide us in what we need to do.
Thank you very much. Good evening, and I'm going to have Dusty Traylor come up here as well. For those new trustees, my name is Chuy Ramirez. I'm with the firm of Ramirez and Guerrero out of McAllen, and we've been the district's bond counsel for several years. Mr. Traylor is a financial advisor. You will recall that the Public Facility Corporation issued the lease revenue bonds several years back. The resolution before you is a very simple amendment of that bond order, and all it does is, you will notice, do you have copies of that? You don't have? Wow. Let me. In any case, those were the bonds that were the proceeds of which were used by the district to build your new stadium, to finance your new stadium, and those were variable rate bonds. You will notice down toward the bottom of the first page, there is a bold the bold language on there, which says February. You see that on the front page? That's the only change in the order. We're going back, we're going from August back to February, and all that is the interest rate reset date. That means that when the interest rate changes in the market, the rate changes, and then the order requires that we pay a different rate on the interest on the bonds. We had August there, now it's back to February. It has no material impact at all on the bonds or the rate or anything else. It's basically a cleanup job. We wanted to take the opportunity to come to you, and because of the board, the new board, and wanted to go ahead and introduce ourselves, and wanted to take the opportunity to visit on this resolution, which we want you to approve tonight. Do you have any questions on that resolution? Dusty, you want to say anything on that?
Yes. Did you want us to take up the item of the resolution out, or the appointment of the officers, the new officers for the PFC?
I think we need to appoint the new officers for the corporation, Mr. Ramirez.
I overlooked that.
Okay.
I guess then the first order of business is going to be to appoint the new trustees to the board. And so we will need a motion, a second, and a vote for that.
At this time, I'd like to call for a motion for the election of officers for the San Benito CISD District Public Facilities Corporation. Do I have a motion?
I'll go ahead and move that we just name the officers of the school board to be the officers of the corporation.
That will work.
That'll be-
That's what was done in the past.
Yeah, that's, I'll go ahead and make that motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. De La Fuente, seconded by Mr. Tumberlinson. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Now we can go to the next issue.
Sure. It's, as Mr. Ramirez was stating, this is a good opportunity to kind of look back at what we did back in 2006 and what's happening with these bonds now. In 2006, these bonds were sold where the last 10 years of those bonds would have a rate adjustment after 5 years, and we're at that time frame. And the last 10 years of those bonds have adjusted from an interest rate of a 4.57% to a 2.42%. And they'll remain at that rate for another 5-year period. So over the course of this 5-year period, you'll see those payments drop on that particular bond issue for the stadium. You'll see those drop by approximately $60,000 per year. And those are funds that are on your M&O side of the ledger, not the INS side of the ledger. So, during the current state of budget affairs here at the state, it's a pretty good time to be realizing $60,000 of savings on the M&O side when so much of that side of the budget is really, really hit hard by what's going on at the state level.
So the action we need is just a motion, second, to approve the amendment.
I'll go ahead and move that we approve the resolution amending the certain provisions of the trust agreement as the item is so stated in the agenda, and that the pursuant to the representations made, that the interest rate be lowered as stated on the record, and I'll go ahead and make that motion.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Mr. De La Fuente and motion seconded by Mr. Medrano. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
I'll go ahead and move at this time that we adjourn the joint meeting of the San Benito CISD and San Benito CISD Public Facilities Corporation.
Thank you very much. May we be excused. Oh, by the way, we left the book on your desk there.
Thank you. Oh, yes.
If you need to report that, it's $14.99. It's a $14.99 gift. Way below the.
Mr. Ramirez, I thought you'd put a younger picture of yourself.
Well, you caught that.
I'd like you to sign this if you wouldn't mind.
We'll go ahead and continue with the meeting. The time is now 7:22. We'll continue with item number 8, Superintendent's Report.
Thank you, Madam President. This time, I would like to inform the board of the overnight trips that have been scheduled. We have the San Benito High School FFA, the Area 10 FFA Leadership Camp, Camp Zephyr in Lagarto, Texas, June 17th through the 19th. We also have disbursement by organization, and have the San Benito CISD Investment Report, March the 1st, 2011 to May 31st, 2011. That concludes the superintendent's report. Would attempt to answer any questions anyone may have.
Are there any questions? We'll go ahead and continue with item number 9, school construction report.
Buenas noches. You can buy my book in your local bookstore. The new elementary electrical plumbing and HVAC is continuing. Sidewalks have been completed. 95% of the project has been completed. The flooring has been completed, getting ready to start waxing that as well. The interlocal agreement that we have with the county and TxDOT and the school district, all that has been approved. Equipment has started to be moved in there to work on the turning lanes. The project is tentatively, will be tentatively ready for substantial completion on Friday, July the 15th. It's supposed to be done on June the 15th, but because of delays in acquiring the permit from the city, plus the rain at the beginning of the year, which has not rained since then, as you can attest to that. Frank Roberts Elementary, Lentram Elementary cafeteria renovations. Last week, the various departments went into that building and removed everything that was usable that could we use at other areas. This week, they will start demolition, the cafeteria and the 3 classrooms there. And as soon as the city issues the permit, they will continue in that work. Today, you will also have an agenda item for the recommendation of the construction, the proposal to rebuild those facilities that were demolishing during this month. At the high school roof project, approximately 95% of the project has been completed. 85% of the demolition, 90%, 85% of the roof has been installed. It's been a little slow because they got to the point where they could not be able to work in that until the students were gone. And now that they're able to do that, they began to do the work there. We're going to be replacing most of the windows up on the higher areas, and that work has already begun as well. The contractor is informing us that he's looking to complete that roof by August 1st. We have a couple of summer projects that we just started. The sports complex, HVAC upgrade. Demolition has already been begun. Matter of fact, they've done a lot of that already. Most of the equipment for that project have already been delivered. Then we have in 3 elementaries, Dr. Cash, Landrum, and La Paloma. We're replacing, those are probably the original PE canopies that had asphalt pavement, and we're replacing it with concrete. That work has begun. There's a good possibility that by this Friday, they will pour the concrete at the one at La Paloma, and we'll probably at the end of the week start at the one at Dr. Cash. Are there any questions?
Being that there are no more questions, we'll go ahead and continue. Thank you, Mr. Ramon. Item number 10, action agenda. In order to promote efficient meetings, the board may act upon more than one item by a single vote through the use of consent agenda. Consent items placed on the agenda shall be marked with an asterisk. Consent items are items for which no board discussion is anticipated and for which the superintendent recommends approval. Prior to the time which approval of consent agenda is had, at the request of any board member, any item on the consent agenda shall be removed and given individual consideration. We'll start off with business and finance. Item 1106A-1, request for approval of proposal on the additions to Frank Roberts and Landrum Elementary Schools.
Question.
Item number 1106A-2, request for approval of proposal on student athletic insurance.
I have a question.
Question by Mr. De La Fuente. Item 1106A-3, request for approval to approve the sale of the fueling station equipment. Consent. Item number 1106A-4, request for approval of purchase of equipment, library books, supplies, and other related items for the new Angela G. Leal Elementary School. Consent. Item number 1106A-5, request for approval of the authorization to request proposals for a third-party administrator to the cafeteria voluntary plans. Question by Mr. Medrano. Item number 1106A-6, request for approval of signature cards and resolution for San Benito CISD bank accounts at Frost National Bank. Consent. 1106A-7, request for approval of 2010-2011 budget amendments. Consent. Item 1106A-8, request for approval of budget transfers. Consent. Under curriculum and instruction, item number 1106A-9, request for approval to accept touch system data entry in place of career portals for instructional purpose. Consent. Item 1106A-10, request for approval of the mathematics and science pathways for the 2011-2012 school year and thereafter. Consent. Under administration, item number 1106A-11, request for approval of board minutes. Consent. Item number 1106A-12, request for approval of board policy update 89. Consent. Item number 1106A-13, request for approval to update policy DC local.
That's been pulled.
And that one, we're going to go ahead and pull from the agenda pending further study. Item number 1106A-14, request for approval to update policy DEC local. Consent. We'll go ahead and go back and ask for approval. Items 1106A-3, 1106A-4, 1106A-6, 1106A-7, 1106A-8, 1106A-9, 1106A-10, 1106A-11, 1106A-12, and 1106A-14. Motion by Mr. Leal and seconded by Mr. Tumberlinson. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. We had a question on, under Business and Finance, 1106A-1, request for approval of proposal on the additions to Frank Roberts and Landrum Elementary Schools.
Yeah, the main concern that I have with this particular item is the bid itself. I don't understand. I know the winner of the bid is this particular company, but there's a $212,000 difference between that particular company and the other. I just didn't know how the Finance Committee determined, or whoever determined, that the bid would be awarded to this particular company.
Mr. Medrano, at this time I'd ask for Mr. Garcia and Mr. Ramon to come forward to the microphone. But if you notice the rating system there to the right, there's 7 items for which we rate, and purchase price is only one of the items. And this was presented to the committee, and the reason that Ferguson was awarded this particular contract was based on all 7 of the items. Mr. Garcia?
Basically, that lower proposal, they have no experience in building schools. Their experience is on civil, meaning doing drainage, streets, highways. They have no experience
No building experience at all?
in school business.
No buildings at all? They haven't built buildings, just,
That is correct. This is the first time that I know of that they're trying to get into the building public schools.
So they have never built a school before,
No, sir. The
yet
documentation that they gave us.
yet here they're bidding knowing that it's
Yes.
for a school.
Yes.
That seems kind of strange to me.
Where are they?
Brownsville, I believe.
I mean, are they a bonded company? Are they legally registered? I mean, would they pass muster in terms of being a reputable company that has insurance and is bonded? I mean, that's a large price difference. I mean, $200,000 is a lot of money.
We do have someone in the audience with a question. You'd like to stand?
I am that company, I believe, and I do have experience in building commercial. Which company you got from? Cutco. I built, as a matter of fact, here in San Benito, back in the 90s, I rehabbed 54 units for the housing authority. At Kenneth Blake and Bonita Park, the name escapes me, but to say that we don't have any experience in building is not true, and a gross misrepresentation of my firm. And I've done hangars, pharmacies, but your bid requirement was the last 5 years. The last 5 years I've been dedicating to highways and infrastructure and utilities. That doesn't mean I can't build a school. As a matter of fact, I started with homes and stuff. I built over 400 homes in Brownsville. That's how I started. But to say I don't have experience that is not true.
If you recall, I stated there was no experience in building public schools.
We have another, thank you, sir. We have another audience member who'd like to speak.
My question is there a specific, if a builder knows how to build, is there a special builder for schools? Isn't it the same, $200,000 is a lot of money for work for somebody just because they can build a school. How do you know? You know what I mean?
And not only that, I have a bond that says I can do it. And now, I'm fully bonded. I'm financially.
We follow the policy that has been established by the board, and so that's how we used to rate those companies. And it talks about experience.
Using the rating system, I know that, of course, that the company you recommended is first, but Cubco comes in second. I mean, it's not like they're fifth or fourth. They're not at the bottom of the list by any means.
There was, 62 points difference, I believe?
For the third place, or? Third place?
On the 62, on the 62 points, Mr. Ramon, what was the main portion that they scored, a little lower than?
There were 6 of us that evaluated, I will say, experience in building public schools. You should have that there.
I don't know, it just seems to me that this should have been looked at. I understand the rating system, I get it. I just have a problem with the difference here of $212,000. I cannot vote for this item. I'm sorry.
I mean, do we have to either vote or not vote on this, or can we award the contract to Cubco Construction? Mr. Acevedo?
I mean, what you have there is the administration's recommendation regarding the criteria that apply, and obviously you can board and accept or reject that recommendation. And vote to.
Okay, at this time, I'll move that we award the contract to Cubco Construction.
Second.
Can we do that, Mr. Acevedo?
Yes, sir.
We can?
Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion to award the proposal on the additions to Frank Robertson Landrum Elementary Schools by Mr. De La Fuente and seconded by Mr. Leal. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Proposal has been awarded to Cubco. We'll move on to Item 1106A-2, there was a question for the request for approval of proposal on student athletic insurance.
I had a similar question on this one. I mean, we have the second plan that also is $14,000 less than the recommended plan. And I just wanted a question as to why the $89,000 plan as opposed to $75,000 plan was recommended. That was my question.
The answer to that, Mr. LaFuente, is because this particular plan provides a zero, Adrian, come forward, please, provides a zero balance guarantee to the family. The family doesn't have to pay anything above what the insurance already paid. Well, the other plan is not as good and does not provide that much coverage. Mr. Garcia, will you expound on that?
Yeah, I'd like to go ahead and go further here. The first column there is there's a typo there. It should have been a requested plan under keep current on the tabulation of proposals. That is the requested plan. That is like a dream plan that we all want. It came in at 131,000, a little bit high than what we've been experiencing in the 80s and 90s. Texas Insurance Service Center came in at 89. And then the third column is the Gilbert Ortiz. And beginning in Texas Insurance Service all the way to Wilson Sports, all those 5 proposals, or what they call alternate proposals, and we entertain, besides the requested plan, proposals for them to offer us, and we'll consider them, so we also evaluate them. And what happened here is that although the 75,000 is a low bid item here, just a low bid, and state law in 2007, we don't go by low bid anymore. You have to use a selection criteria, just like we did with the construction. We also need to use it here. And we also have points. If you notice, besides Gilbert Ortiz's proposal at 75, all the other 4 proposals are in the 80s. This is what I would consider for us to look at. They're all competitive proposals, all of them, except for Gilbert Ortiz. He's at 75. We've had some experience with Gilbert Ortiz in the past. We had some problems with it. We also, their benefits.
Well, real quickly, you said that it wouldn't, we bought the insurance from Gilbert Ortiz, that would the people that buy this insurance have to pay a higher deductible? Is that?
Yes.
Oh, so they would have to pay a higher deductible than the plan that's recommended?
Right.
Okay.
It's the benefits offered by the Gilbert Ortiz proposal are definitely not as good as the one we're recommending. And what I did in the last page of your item.
B4, is it B4?
I kind of felt that I have to indicate some of the highlights of the proposal and why Texas Insurance Service Center was rated the highest proposal. If you notice, the difference between number one, between the injury and the time they first reported, it's a learning experience by Kathy Gilberto, who is the trainer at the athletic department, who experiences all these injuries, that if you go beyond the 90 days, it's a lot better it's a win-win situation for the parent and also for the school district. A lot of parents, a lot of kids don't report the injury until 4 months later. And then they start hurting and when did this happen? And you're looking at thousands of dollars that if you go with the Gilbert proposal at 90 days, you're gonna create a problem with the parent and of course a problem with the school district. So 180 days is a lot better reporting period for the injured athlete. And that's one of them. Number 2, the surgical is very important here. We have maybe 4 to 10 cases involving surgery. And in this particular case, the company has up to $3,000 benefit. If you go with the Ortiz plan, I think it's $1,500. What we're looking at here is thousands of dollars difference in case. It will easy supersede the difference in the proposals. And if you keep going, the prescribed medicine, And the miscellaneous expenses is also very, very good. It goes as high as $5,000. Emergency room, it goes up to $300 for the Gilbert Ortiz. I think it's only $150. The ambulance trip, if you take the athlete to one, and then you need to move him to McAllen or to Harlingen, if it happened in Valley Regional in Brownsville, he needs to be moved to Valley Baptist. That trip would cost
So you're
$600.
you're saying for the extra money, we're getting a lot more of a benefit
Yes.
from the Texas Insurance Service Center.
Who do we have this business with this year? With them?
Those things.
The Texas Insurance Service Center.
Now, the last item here, Albert Salinas' assistant. Mr. Salinas has been instrumental in eliminating medical costs that the parent has to pay. He will literally go and, he's a local contact person. He will literally go to the doctor or to the hospital and plead, to please don't charge this to the parent. Because there is deductibles and the parent has to pay more. That is one of the main factors as to why they're also eliminated. And for your reason, the reason it's up in the 80s, the competitive rates are up in the 80s, is because right now our claims in our current insurance is going to hit $110,000. This company, we only paid $85,000 to them last year. But I don't know, the medical claims went up to 110, maybe 120. They're going to lose 35, 40,000. No, Kathy. Yes, she's an evaluator. We just investigated everything.
Well, I'm ready to make a motion unless anybody else has any questions.
If there's no further questions, I'll call for a motion to request for the approval of proposal on student athletic insurance.
I move that we do business with Texas Insurance Service Center and accept the superintendent's recommendation.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Tumberlinson, seconded by Mr. Medrano. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. There was also a question on 11068-5, request for the approval of the authorization to request proposals for a third-party administrator for the cafeteria voluntary plans.
Yeah, I question that item because I'm a little concerned that we're going up, where we're trying to go out for bids for a third-party administrator at this time when, I haven't heard anything wrong that's going on as far as anything bad about it. In fact, I've heard very good things about this particular plan. I know that they opened up an office here in San Benito. They even come once a week here to meet one-on-one with anyone who wants to, has any questions regarding the plan and so forth. So I just don't know if it's the right time right now to go out for bids. I feel it's not. So I just wanted to share my 2 cents worth on this because in the times like these, I think we need to keep the good people and the good programs that we have in our district, and I think this is one of them, and I don't think it's a good idea to go out for bids at this time.
Don't we have a contract with a third-party administrator? Is there a contract that we sign for 1 year, 2 years?
No, sir, there isn't, and if I could call Glenn Hilliard. Glenn, are you here? Can you give the board a brief rundown of what this entails and what this involves? Glenn is our insurance consultant for the district.
Well, really what happens on this is Bob Trevino's your voluntary benefits person that handles this for you. And anybody that does administration for that normally charges the school districts. But what most people like Bob and some other companies do is they say if you award us the voluntary products, then we'll pay that in lieu of the school district having to come up with that expenses. So that's what they do in these cases. And that's probably every school district down here is under the same sort of scenario.
It's clear this is not taxpayer money that we're talking about here.
That's correct.
This is a voluntary plan that the employees choose the insurance that they want to buy.
That's correct.
Are we having any problems with the gentleman administering the program now?
No, he does quite a few down here, and he has excellent service. He really does.
Now, I'm interested, you saying that if they're allowed to sell the insurance to the employees, we don't have to pay them for any third administrative costs, right?
That's correct.
No taxpayer dollars go toward the administration of any of the cafeteria plans that are purchased under our current system?
That's correct.
All right. And it might change if we were to go out for bids on that?
It could.
Okay, if there are no further questions, I'd like to ask for a motion to request for the approval of the authorization to request proposal for a third-party administrator for the cafeteria voluntary plans. All those in favor of requesting approval? Sorry. Motion?
I have a question. Would it affect the one that we have now if we were to look for what's out there for the employees, even though it's not costing taxpayers money or the district any extra money, but yet we might at least get to know what's out there for the employees? That's where I'm coming from.
Glenn, you want to answer that?
Mr. Leal, the way it's really the motion is worded, it will, because it's almost two different issues. You have your voluntary plans, which are funded, basically, funding this program you have. So if you were to go to bid for this particular item, and then you select somebody else, it affects everybody and everything you do. Even though it's not funded by the school district, that's how it works.
I understand it would affect everybody, but would it affect them in a sense of saving money? That's what I'm saying. Maybe, that's what I'm coming from,
Right.
look what's out there. If it's something more economical for the employees, that's.
It won't, but let me clarify that for you, okay? Once again, and I'm really not trying to avoid your question, I'm really trying to clarify your question. It won't save the employees any money on the service of the administration, because really they don't pay for it. But if your question is there a life company that could be possibly better for the employees than what there is today? The answer is there could be, yes. There probably isn't, but absolutely there could be. Does that answer your question?
Well, actually, my question is, these companies that Mr. Trevino represents, that's what I'm saying.
Correct.
I know we come up with somebody else, they're going to come up with different prices, maybe even higher or maybe even lower. That's what I'm saying. Would it be, I don't know how the board feels, but.
Well, absolutely, because the thing that differentiates the voluntary from the medical, when we went to bid for the medical, we knew we were looking at. And the voluntary is very subjective. For example, what's good for Mr. Limon may not be good for me and may not be good for Mr. Medrano. Whereas the medical is more of a finite item. So it really is much harder to quantify, because it might be better benefits but costs more. And then the teachers that are 20, they're not really that concerned about having the disability like the teachers that are 40 are. So, I mean, it is a little different, so it's hard to quantify, but it can be done, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Let me ask you one more question.
Sure.
If another company is selected, do they have open enrollment? Is that guaranteed that I could still, or anybody could still buy what was there even with pre-existing conditions, or it all depends?
Most of those in a voluntary situation would be waived, Mr. Limon. However, you can get caught up in some of the limitations from plan to plan, absolutely. Just because, obviously, too, they cover different items. Now, that's what I'm trying to say on the voluntary. It's not like you have a $50 deductible for a broken leg, and this one has 50 for a broken leg. It's kind of, this is going to sound a little bit silly, but it's kind of like this one's 50 for a broken leg, and this one gives you 50 for a partially broken leg. And so, I mean, it gets really subjective on this stuff. But to answer your question, there can be employees that get caught in that trap, yes. Absolutely.
Also, the programs that these teachers are in right now, if you change your administrators, that program may not be so easy to get. Could be, but it doesn't have to be. You may have other products.
That's absolutely correct. It can always, just so we're clear, it can always be offered if an employee wants it, but it won't be pre-tax, and it may not be a bank draft either. So they don't get the pre-tax on that.
One more question, Glenn. Are there any guidelines that have to be followed, or any that we have to do this, required to do this, or is it just up to the board?
It's strictly up to the board, absolutely. It's totally different from your medical. Because it's employee independent funded is why.
I don't know, I just feel it's too risky, board members, right now to go out for bids. I think we have a good plan right now. I think it's very convenient for our employees, and they come, they're able to ask questions, and they'll be able to get their questions answered in Spanish. It's the convenience, and I think it's something that's worked. I don't see why we need to go out for bids. It's just my opinion.
But what's to say that the other just can't do the exact same? I mean, if we just sit and just wait with what we have, we're never going to see what's out there. There might be something that's a little bit better for our employees themselves, that they can go out and have options to see who's bidding.
And I get that. I just think it's risky at the moment, and I think that I have not heard any complaints. I mean, have we had complaints, Mr. Limon? I haven't. In fact, I've heard compliments about how the system's working, and I think that's where I grab myself and say, what's better for our district? What's better for our workers, for our employees? And it's convenience, and it's that leads me to say, you know what, I don't think it's the right time to go out for bids.
I think it's right now we shouldn't get another bid, because we need to look at the people that might have cancer or unemployment or something that, I don't know if it would affect if we get another bid.
Yeah, it can definitely affect it, absolutely. I'm not saying it will, but it can.
But if they're already locked into a plan, it shouldn't affect them.
That's right. You can always keep the plan you have, and it's not pre-tax, and you have to figure out really how to pay them. It's not that convenient, but absolutely it can be done. You
So we
bet.
can probably continue with the plan that's existing and supplement it with something else, or provide other options versus just the one that we have right now existing.
You can, sure.
Are there any other questions? Okay. Thank you. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Julian Huerta. Do I have a second? The motion to request for the approval of the authorization to request proposals for the cafeteria voluntary plans.
Point of order, there was no second, so.
Sure it's clear that that's what it is.
I have a motion for the request of approval. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ms. Aguilera. All those in favor to request for the approval of the authorization to request proposals for a third-party administrator for the cafeteria voluntary plans? We vote. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay, we do not have majority on this one, so it's not approved. That concludes with the consent items. The time is now 7:56. At this time, we're going to go ahead and go into closed meeting for the discussion under the authority of Texas Government Code 551.071 for the purpose of a private consultation with board's attorney on any or all subjects or matters authorized by law. A, pending litigations. 551.074 for the purpose of the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee. To hear complaints or charges against a public officer or employee. A, report on personnel. B, approval of separation agreement for early resignations. C, and we've pulled item C, level 4 grievance, Ricardo Molano. D, discussion of hourly personnel attendance and accountability. E, discussion of reassignment of professional staff. F, discussion of potential student grievance. We are now in executive session, 7:57. Okay, we're returning from executive session. The time is 9:15. Item number 12, consider action on items discussed in closed meeting 551.071 for the purpose of a private consultation with board's attorney on any or all subjects or matters authorized by law. A, pending litigations. 551.074 for the purpose of the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, to hear complaints or charges against a public officer or employee. A, approval of separation agreement for early resignations.
Yes, Madam Chairman, I would make the recommendation that the board approve the separation agreement for early resignation as discussed in executive session.
I'll move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Mr. De La Fuente for the approval of separation agreement for early resignation and seconded by Mr. Medrano. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. B, Level 4 grievance, Ricardo Molano. Again, that was postponed until later notice. C, discussion of hourly personnel attendance and accountability. D, discussion of reassignment of professional staff. And E, discussion of potential student grievance. Okay, and I would like to make a statement regarding D, discussion of reassignment of professional staff. Just for the record, I'm not in agreement with the move for the consideration of moving salary staff from Gateway to Veterans Memorial Academy.
And I also agree with President Ileana Rodriguez.
Nothing further to discuss. The next item is adjournment. The time is 9:17. The meeting is adjourned.